So I've come in my darkroom to do some printing with the video cameras as well. My board's falling down. Look, it's made out of picture matte board, but it looks all right on visuals, I suppose. Lodge it back up. I'm not very useful with DIY, but there you go. Get back on there, you bugger. Unfortunately though, I've still got that blooming problem at the bottom. Can you see that? This is fogging here. So somewhere one of my lights is causing it. I thought it was the GoPro. It's not. It's one of my lights. I think I might know what it is. Got it again. I know what light it is now. So these photographs I took back in March. It was Delta 3200. I shot it at 800 and I developed it in Pyro, 510 Pyro, on a rotary processor. And this was pigeons. Do you remember the vlog that I did of pigeons? I took a few photographs of the local church, and our church in our town centre is absolutely beautiful. And this particular day, there was a whole flock of pigeons around it. And they would, you know, as they do, go off and come back, all within moments. I don't know why they do that. But they were circling around the church, and so I took a few photographs thinking of the project that I'm doing at the moment, looking up. So here's the church here, and these are the negatives. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go for this one because there is another negative that I want to print of the same church, which is here, that I shot recently on Dragon #1 film, using the yellow filter, which was the video on the yellow filter, if you remember that one. And that's the photograph there. So I want to get that one printed too. The sun was so bright on that church, which was great because I could then expose for the church, which make the sky darker. This was the yellow filter, so I've got some nice dramatic sky going on with this church. So there's two I want to print, this one here and this one here. And I'm choosing this one because I've got birds either side of the clock tower, and I think that's probably the best one to go for. So that's the one I'm going to get it on the enlarger and see if I'm going to crop it at all. I don't think I will, but I don't know. See what happens. Let's get it on the enlarger and we'll have a look. Notice I'm not wearing any gloves, but I'm just going to handle it by the corner of the neg. I can't be taking gloves on and off. It's they just drive me mad. So there's the negative there. I'm just going to make sure that there's no crap on it. First of all, because it's sky, it'll be a nightmare, and there isn't. So I've got a nice clean negative to work with. Put it into the carrier, put it under the enlarger, and see if I need to crop anything. Now the thing with cropping is, it's my photograph. I could do anything I like with it, and even if I put it in a book, no one has to see the original negative. No one has to see that. It's just my idea of how that photograph should look. So if I need to crop it, I will. If I don't, I won't. It depends how much information I've got on that negative and how much information I can afford to lose. So if anything, I'd like to crop it square, into a square format. So I'm going to have a look at that. And then, but with all the birds, I think I framed it quite well on the day. So I'll end up losing loads of birds if I do crop it. So I'm more than likely not going to bother with that. I've also got another light to show you guys from Nordic Lab. He sent me this darkroom light, safe light. So I'll show you this in a short while, and it's more than likely ideal for very small darkrooms like your bathroom and stuff. But we'll turn it on in a short while and we'll have a little look, and I'll give you the information. There it is working. I'll give you the information in the link on the description of this video. So we'll try this darkroom lamp out as well. So that's the full image there, and obviously it's not going to fit on a 10 by 8 piece of paper. So if I wanted to show the whole image, I've got 9.5 by 12 inch paper, which will fit that image in nicely. As far as cropping goes, if I want to crop it square, let's have a quick look at a square crop. So I'll be 8.5 by 8.5. So there's the easel blades there, coming all the way around the edge. You can see I need to raise the enlarger head so it fits the image inside. So let's do that now and see if a square crop will fit. I don't think it will. In fact, I know it won't, but we'll try it anyway. So we need to raise the enlarger head, get a focus in, and of course that's going to introduce more grain into the print, which I don't mind as long as all the information's there. But there's the square crop. You can see, I'll come out of the way again. That's the square crop. So I can move the easel around but look, it's not going to work at all on this print. So I'm not going to crop it square. I could come around about here and have the church in the middle, but then I've lost all the birds. I need to keep it as it was. It's exactly the same as what I saw through the camera. I need to now mask off my frame. So I've got 9.5 by 12-inch paper, so 12 and 9.5. I'll come in a little bit, 9 to 11.5. There you go. So there's the easel around the edge, and you can see my print is sitting nicely in the middle. So I'll just make sure it's in focus, and I'll do some test strips and see how it comes out. So I'm going to start off with a 2.5 grade filter with my tests and see how I go from there. That's going to be my rock to stand on, this filter, because I'm anticipating using a little bit of contrast control with the print. So, and I'm going to bring my aperture to f8, see how that goes first of all. So I'll just show you my normal safe light setup. I'll show you that Nordic safe light if anyone's on the lookout for a new darkroom light. I'll show you mine first. I use a Kodak beehive light up in this corner, and you can see it nice and bright over this area, doesn't fog the paper. I've got a small Patterson light there just next to the enlarger, and over here I've got an RGB light. Now don't forget, I use these for videoing, so you guys can see what I'm doing in here, and they are safe. But if I was to turn this one off, this video light off here, that's where I am at the moment, and that's ideally that beehive light would be over here, over these papers. So that's where I am at the moment. And where's that light gone? There it is there. This is the Nordic Lab light, and we'll put this one on in a second. I could probably explain this much better on the desk. This is the Nordic Lab light, safe light, that was sent to me by the guys over at Nordic Lab. It's a 3D printed safe light. You can't open it up, it's completely sealed. It's got a little charging USB-C port at the back and one little tiny touch sensor button at the front, and it turns it off. Press it and it turns it back on. These lights might be overpowering it. You keep your finger pressed on it, it dims down. You keep your finger pressed on it again and it goes to full brightness. I'd probably need 2 of these, I reckon, in my darkroom to light it up if I wasn't making any videos. But I reckon this is probably ideal for those with small darkrooms, those that have got little darkroom setups in their bathrooms, or a smaller environment where they can just put the lamp on the desk near the paper and do their printing, and then move it over to the washing area or the developing area or the tray area, and carry on doing their printing that way. You could probably get away with one light. It is quite bright when it's in there, but I found that the brightness is much better when it's upside down, looking down. But there's no magnets on the back of it or anything like that, and there's nothing on the back that you can attach to a ceiling or a bottom of a shelf or something for your light. It's meant to sit on a desk, but for my darkroom I'd like to have it up like that. I found that's the better way of using it for the work. But it's a nice little bit of kit. I'll put a link in the description if anyone's interested in the Nordic Lab, and we'll get back to the video where I'll show you this compared to my lights in the darkroom. And like any safe lights, when you get them, before you use them, always do your little tests first. Just make sure that they're not going to fog your paper. So there's plenty of different tests you can do. Yeah, let's get back onto the video. I'll show you this one in the darkroom. Okay, so that is a Nordic light. It dims and it can go bright, and that's the brightest it can go. So what do you guys think? It's quite bright actually, and it's orange, so you'll have to do your own tests with it if you're going to use it in your darkroom. Or I mean, to be honest with you, it wouldn't be any good in here unless I had probably 3 or 4 of them. But if I was in my bathroom, it would probably be ideal. It's light, it's portable, and it's rechargeable as well. And it lasts for about 2 hours on a full charge. I didn't see how long it took to charge up. Probably an hour or so, maybe, to charge. Turn this off. Turn my ones back on. So that's my ones. And we'll turn the Nordic one back on. And that's the Nordic one. But I found that it's really meant for a desk. So you put it there, for example, and you work, but it's gone dark over this side. So I found it's much better if you have it that way. Now you can see much more as opposed to that. So just turn it up that way, but there's no magnetic support or anything underneath, so you'll have to sort of come out with some jiggery pokery idea to have it hanging up. But nice little light. I'll put a link in the description if anyone's interested. I keep turning it off. If anyone's interested in the Nordic Lab Darkroom safe light. And most of you that have been watching my channel for quite some time, you know that I'm using f-stop printing. It's no different than just doing it in normal seconds. It's just does it in fractions of seconds rather than full seconds. So I'm starting off at my base time at 10 seconds. So let's do this test print anyway. Where do I want to put the piece of paper? I'm going to put it so it comes across, so it sort of comes across the church and into the sky as well. So half this side is sky, half this side is church. So let's do our test strips. That's one section, two sections, 3 more, 5, 6, and the last one coming up, 7. That's done. And I have not got a clue how this is going to come out, so this is literally just testing at the moment, and then once my test strips are looking good, I've then got my times and the filter, the contrast filter for the print that I want to make. How do I want it to look? I don't like flat looking negatives. I do like a little bit of punchy contrast in my prints. Most of you know that. And if I do end up with sort of flat negatives, I'll try and add a bit of punch in the darkroom using my contrast filters. So that's exactly where I'm going. And it looks like so far things are looking good. And there's my test strip there. So that f-stop ended up with 5 seconds, 7 seconds, 10 seconds, which is where my middle point was, 14.1, 20 and 28.2 at the top. So 5 seconds is too light, 7 seconds is too light, 10 seconds is not bad, but I'd rather a little tiny bit more punch into it. 14.1 seconds, 20 seconds, I can see the sky is now starting to go a bit dark. So I'm going to go for 14.1 seconds on another test strip and see where we go from there. So we'll go to print, 14.1 seconds on the timer, and I'll put another test strip right diagonally across the whole print. So I've got sky, church, birds, the whole lot, and off it goes, 14.1 seconds. And it goes to the developer. If this one comes out okay, then that'll be the time, and I can go ahead and make a print, just make a final focus check, and then make my final print. So there you go, that's my second test print there, and it looks nice. I love the contrast and the detail that I've got in the church, the birds, the sky. It all looks good. So I'm going to go for a full print, and then only from that full print I can decide if I need to just dodge or burn any parts of the church to make it sort of pop or stand out. That's the only way I'm going to be able to do this. So I'm going to go for a whole piece of paper, a full print, and see how it looks, and do I need to change anything from there. So let's put a piece of paper under there and make this print. Will it be the final print? I don't know. We'll soon find out. Off it goes, 14.1 seconds. There goes the paper. So let's watch this one come through and see if this is going to be any good for us. I'm thinking of doing something with the church, just to sort of make it pop, but I might not have to. It all depends on how that clock face comes out. Looks like I've got some nice light on the front of that clock. I've got some dark edges down the... Oh no, I haven't. I thought I had some dark edges down the bottom. That's just cloud. That's okay. As long as my sky is not the same colour as the paper, in other words, I can see a slight border around the edge of the sky, where we've got some tonality, if you like, a little bit of density in the paper, then that's all I'm concerned about with that. Okay, but I think the sky's nice, but I think the church has gone a bit too dark. So let's fix this one, get it dry, and see where I can improve it. So then it goes to the stop bath. So even though the development's fully stopped already, it's been in there long enough, it's not going to develop any longer. And there's the print there that I just made. I'm calling this my third test strip. It's nice, I like it. The density in the sky is good. I don't know if you can, it's picking it up on this video camera. Let me try and pull the aperture down so you can see the sky. So we've got a difference between the sky and the inertia of the paper, which is great. I've got that border, which means I've got density in the sky. Wonderful. The only thing I'm worried about is the church itself. It's a little bit dark down this side and maybe here. I need to make the church pop. Let's bring the aperture back up again so you can see the church. So I'm going to go for another test print, and probably for maybe 3 or 4 seconds, I'm just going to, in fact I might even use my finger, don't know yet. I'm just going to use this little dodge tool here. So on the next print, I'm just going to dodge this for a few seconds, maybe, I reckon maybe 4 seconds. Just dodge this area here, so it stops the light getting to this part of the church for about 4 seconds, and that should bring some detail back in there. And just a couple of seconds here, so the church is going to be a little bit lighter and pop a little bit more. I'm not interested in this part, just this steeple area here, but the birds and the sky is wonderful. So literally just winging it. I've done no tests on this, I'm just going to wing it and see how it works. So we'll go a couple of dodge tools. I said about 4 seconds one side, 3 seconds the other, so that's giving me plenty of time to play with. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this side 1, 2, 3, 4, and off. And there we go, that's that print there. You can see now, you can see how the church has popped slightly compared to how it was, and I think that looks a lot better. The only trouble is I seem to have had some sort of leak going on. Can you see here at the bottom? I don't know if you can see that. I've got density underneath the print, which I think might have been the GoPro causing that. So I'm going to have to make another one and turn the GoPro off. But it's very slight. That's the original one I did. You can see how dark it is down that side. Compared to now, you can see it's lightened it up and got more detail inside the window there at the top. Here. So just that few seconds of dodging, stopping the light getting to that area. You can see the difference. And on the front of the church as well. It's a nice print, I love the photograph. I do have one little tiny spot here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. One little tiny spot there, which I'm going to have to try and figure out on the negative where that is, get rid of it, make a print, turn the GoPro off, and hopefully this one will be all tickety-boo. And there you go, that's the final print. I managed to get that little tiny dot off the church, which was quite nice. If I couldn't, you know, it still wouldn't have bothered me. It is part of the emulsion, part of the photography process that I, you know, that happened at the time. But yeah, it looks really nice, and I'm happy with it. I like that one. And it was the GoPro as well that gave me that crap at the bottom. And I've done another 4 copies, guys. These are going to be going on my Etsy page if anyone wants to buy one of these prints and support the channel, and in particular support the book that I'm trying to put together, my Looking Up project. These prints are going to be going on my Etsy page. There's 4 there, so 4 are going to be going up. If you want to get one of these from this darkroom session, there'll be a link in the description. Obviously once they're all washed and dried. So these negatives were shot on Dragon #1 film. And this was the video where I was making photographs using the yellow filter on the lens, video that I put out recently. And one photograph was the church, which I really liked. I need to, you can see how dense that church wall is, so I need to work on that first. And the only way I'm going to do this is by using a contrast 0 filter, which is going to build up the highlights slowly, and the rest of the detail in the negative will build up behind it. So I'm going to have to do some tests first and see where we go. But the most important thing is to get detail in that church, and then hopefully get a darker sky around the edges. Let's see what happens. And these are the filters that I use. These are Ilford Multigrade filters, and they go underneath the lens. So I've got a whole range here. Sorry for the guys with OCD obsession. My numbers aren't exactly in order. They're all over the place, but when I'm working in the darkroom, I just put them back any way I can. Anyway, they go from, they're all sort of 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then they go in halves as well. So a 0 filter looks like that. So it's kind of got this light orange tint, and as I say in the video, that's what I use when I've got overexposed negs or heavily developed negs where I need to build up the highlights first and then start working on the contrast when I start split grading, and then I'll start using a contrast 5 filter to try and build up the shadow areas or the darker parts of the print. These are relatively inexpensive. Probably you can pick these up used for between 30, 40, 50 pounds if you've got a darkroom, but they're very good, very robust. And I prefer these to the tray filters, which I've had in the past. And you have to handle those with your fingers. These have got like a plastic shield around them, so much easier. But with the tray ones, I've noticed in the past, I've gone through a couple of them, and when you're working in a darkroom, you might have some wet fingers. You touch the gel or whatever it is, and it just marks it and ruins the filter. So I've ruined a couple of sets of tray filters, but I prefer these ones under the lens filters. And they come with a little attachment that you can put on your enlarger as well, so they fit underneath the lens. So that's what these are, Ilford Multigrade filters. This is probably the best way that I can explain how the contrast filters work. I've got the same image in Lightroom at the moment. If we come over here, we can see our contrast slider just here. And if I pull it down to a low contrast, that's kind of like the effect that a 0 filter would give. If I push the contrast slider all the way to the top, that's a sort of effect that the contrast number 5 filter will give. And you notice that it's made the skies go darker, so the contrast 5 filter is going to darken all these areas and any shadows, and it will kind of sort of leave the highlight areas alone. So that's kind of what you'll get if I just put a contrast 5 filter under the enlarger and made a print. If I just put a contrast 0 under the enlarger and made a print, that's the sort of effect I get. So when I'm split grading, I'll take a little piece of this, I'll use the contrast 0 filter to build up all these highlight areas such as these, and build them up to a little bit more. And I'm using the levels down the bottom here just to kind of get where I would be on a grade 0. So that's where I would be on a grade 0. And then what I did, I used a grade 5 just to deepen the sky and the remaining areas of the church, the shadows and stuff, so I'll get this high contrast look. So I'll use the black slider for that because I've already used the contrast slider. So just imagine I'm using grade 5 and I pull the blacks down, and that would kind of give me what I'm looking for in the print. So by using the contrast filters in the darkroom, it's very similar to just using these sliders, or at least the contrast slider in Lightroom. If I take this into Photoshop, on the left hand side I've got my dodge and burning tool. So all I used was my burn tool, which is here. So I just burned around these areas here, and also to stop this area getting black, I used the dodge tool, as you can see, just to spruce it up a little bit there, to give it a little bit of more pop, if you like, because that's pretty much all I did in the darkroom. So when I'm burning, I'm literally adding more light to a specific area on the print to darken it using a piece of card with a hole in it. The light from the enlarger goes through the hole and burns that part of the paper, and the rest of the paper is covered so it doesn't get touched. This results in this case a dark circle on the print. And with dodging, I'm giving less light to a certain area using a piece of card attached on a wire to stop the light hitting that part of the print, making it appear lighter. And whilst dodging or burning, it's important to move the tool around the area to blend the light in, or you'll end up with an obvious dark or light spots. And that's basically dodging and burning in a nutshell. So for this one, I'm going to use the 0 filter, take the 2.5 grade out, and we'll put a 0 filter in just to obtain that contrast. It's a low contrast filter, so hopefully I can get detail in that wall and work around the rest of the print. Let's get the negative in the carrier. And with this one, I don't need to do any cropping at all, because I know for sure that I don't need to crop this one whatsoever. So same old thing again, just make sure I've got no crap on the negative. And there's not, so that's a good start. So there's the neg there, you can see. Pretty dense, but I can see all the detail in the brickwork around the church, which is great, which means I can get that detail out. Look at these clouds, the way they're popping. This was the yellow filter. but the sun was really shining on that church. But it's actually a really nice photograph, so hopefully I can get it printed. And it's very fine grain, this film. This is that Dragon #1 film in 510 Pyro. Really fine. That's as good as I can get the focus. I think I can see grain okay. So I'm not going to do normal test strips on this. I'm going to wing it. I'm just going to use a test strip across the church with contrast 0 and just work on the church wall first. And then I'll start working on the rest of the print. So I'm just going to put pieces of test strips down and sort of go from, I'm going to start off at 14.1 seconds and see if I can get detail out of that church. So this will be fun. So I'm going to take a test strip, I'm going to cut it in half. So I'm going to save my test strips that way and just put that wasn't me by the way, and just put that straight across the dense part of the church and into the glass like so. 14.1 seconds, see what happens. And into the developer. I hope this comes out, this print, because it's one that I really do want to put into the book. I just think it's got some great tonality and nice composition as well as I could get it on that church. The clouds though, they were really popping, so I did like it. But it depends if I can get detail out of the whole print without making it look muddy. I need to make sure the contrast is good, otherwise it won't work. So this one I've got almost right how I want it, and it's taken me quite some time. I had to do some split grading, so a contrast 0 and a contrast 5 filter for 5 seconds. And this area I dodged here on the contrast 5 so it didn't go to black, only for a few seconds here. I just dodged so the light didn't get to the window as much, so it didn't go that dark with the contrast 5. And then I burned, just using the contrast 5, I burned all these areas in, because you can see there's little brickwork and little detail inside the brickwork. So doing that was sort of brought those shadows out a little bit more all around the edge. And it's come out really nice. And look at those skies against that cloud with that yellow filter. It's gone crazy. These were the test strips that I was doing. You can see I've written my notes on the back. These were the test strips that I was doing, just sticking in lumps like this and winging it until I got where pretty much I needed to be. And they started off with small test strips like this at first, just on the brickwork, so I needed to see how to get around it. But it's come out really well. Unfortunately though, I've still got that blooming problem at the bottom. Can you see that? This is fogging here. So somewhere one of my lights is causing it. I thought it was the GoPro. It's not. It's one of my lights. So I'm going to have to turn off one of the lights and see which one it is. And it's strange because this has never happened to me before in the darkroom. So it's either that light or it's the beehive light over there. So let's turn those two lights off like so. And hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. I could use the Nordic light, but I haven't done any tests with that. So I'm not going to use that in this session. Right, okay, contrast 0, 5 seconds. So I'm going to let that go for 5 seconds. That's going to give me my base to work from. There it is. Okay, so that's built up a little bit of the highlights there, and the real magic happens with the contrast 5. That's going to, it's like the slider in Photoshop of the contrast slider. I'm just going to now boost contrast in there for another 5 seconds, but I need to dodge the glass for a few seconds so that doesn't go too dark. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, and off. And then the last bit is using, I can't even see what I'm blooming doing in here now. So this is just a, I don't know if you can see that, I've got a hole. I don't know if you guys can see, there's a little hole there inside this piece of card. So I'm just going to turn the enlarger on, freehand. On it goes, and I'm just going to burn all around the black parts, which is the bright parts. So you can see on the baseboard there. So I'm just brush stroking light into those dense areas to try and pull out some more detail. Oh, went a bit crazy there, see that? Just try and pull some detail out. See how that looks. So whatever light was turning that, fogging that paper slightly would have had an effect on that last print. So you can see it coming through straight away. Those clouds are really popping well. Let me just pull the aperture down on this camera so you can see it a bit better. Those clouds are popping. It's almost like a red filter, but it wasn't. It was a yellow filter. But no, okay, I've got it again. I know that. I know what light it is now. So that's pleased me in a way. I know it's not the lights that are above my enlarger, because I need those to see. As you can see, I was having trouble there. But I've definitely fogged the paper, and I think it could be this light up here. Oh, don't know, that look nice. I love the contrast, and you can see the sun as well. There was when I was taking this photograph, there was a flare coming off of that window, and I was sort of rocking back and forward. But if to get that flare in, I would have had to change the angle of the church. I didn't want that, so I just stayed exactly where I was, knowing that I was still getting a slight flare coming this side, and it's worked out well. Love those clouds though. I think I might know what it is. I'm using the new microphone. Look, it's got a little green LED light on it. I wonder if it's that. I'm going to put this under my shirt. I'll tuck it under my shirt for now. I wonder if it's that. I'll do a quick test. So I know it's not my lights above the enlarger, so I can turn them on. So the way I'm going to test this is I'm going to use a small test strip. I'm going to stick it underneath the blade. So that's not going to get any light at all. Whatever happens, that will be pure white, that piece of paper. And then that bit there is exposed to the lights inside the darkroom. And then on top of that, we've got our image. So yeah, let's see what happens. I've got all the lights on again, and my microphone light is now hidden. So I'll just do another quick test, like so. I can just do a couple of them, and we'll see what happens. But this time I've hidden them. I wonder if it's a microphone. Interesting. And there you go. It's gone. It was the little tiny green light on my microphone causing that paper to fog, and because it's new to me, I didn't realise. I was blaming the GoPro, then I was blaming all my other lights, which was strange because it's never happened before. So there you go, little tiny light on my microphone was doing that. Wow, I knew this one would be tricky. So that's the original one that I did, not realising I was fogging the paper. Of course, when I'm fogging the paper, it's almost like I'm pre-flashing the paper, so it's sort of making it muddier. And so there's the next one that I did, or the final one that I did there. And I'm really happy with the way that one's come out. It's got, I don't think you can see the difference between the two. The top one is a little bit muddier than the bottom one, but of course it would be because this one hasn't been fogged by my microphone. So that's the final one that I came out with. And of course, because of the extra fogging this was getting, I had to change the times on this. So where this was 5 seconds, I ended up going for 7 seconds. So 7 seconds contrast 0, 7 seconds contrast 0, 7 seconds contrast 5 filter. F5.6, whereas that one was 5 seconds, but it's gone muddy because of the fogging. So that one's come out much better, and I'm happy with that. Just got to make a few more prints of that one, and then I've got 2 more pictures for my book. So I was really happy that I did the darkroom session. I've already framed one of the prints, which is the church one. I've only got one frame, so I'm going to frame the other one as well with the church and the pigeons. But look how well that's come out. I really love the way it's come out. You might think it was a bit dark on one side in the brick area there, but that didn't bother me. I noticed as I was printing, and I could have dodged that and got a bit more detail in the print, but I like the contrast. I think it adds to the high contrast look of that print, so that's why I didn't go forward and start dodging that to try and get detail back in the brickwork. But it's a nice photograph, and I think I was lucky to get that on that particular day just by looking up. So that one's going in my book when it finally gets made. And I've got those on sale on my Etsy page, guys. If anyone wants a copy of these prints, they've been selenium toned now, so they're going to be going on my Etsy page, and also the bird ones as well, if you can see that there on the camera. And it was quite strange getting that light leak. I was stumped. I was confident it wasn't my lights, but then I thought I couldn't understand it. I just could not understand how I was getting this fogging on the paper. And I saw it straight away and thought, where's that coming from? But my lights haven't changed. I keep all the same settings, so and I use the same paper all the time, Kentmere VC Select. So I couldn't understand where this fogging was coming from, and it was bugging me. At first, I thought it was the GoPro. That could have been causing it. It could have been the vlogging camera that I was using in there as well, the screen from that. But I've never had that before. Then I realised, what's changed? I was trying to think, what's changed? What have I brought into the darkroom new? And then I looked down at my microphone. I thought, hang on a minute, have I got a light on here? And I have a green light. And that is what was fogging me paper. So, but I find that quite fun, quite challenging, trying to find a resolvement to a problem that you've got. I quite enjoy that. So, a few bits of paper it ruined, but I'm glad that I found out what it was eventually. It was this little tiny light on the microphone. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, extended darkroom session. And if anyone's looking at getting into darkroom, or maybe you are into darkroom at the moment and you're trying to learn it, or hope it's inspired you in some way or gave you a few tips or pointers along the way. I'm no way a professional or master darkroom printer. I just enjoy making prints in my darkroom, and over the last 15 years or so, I'm still making prints in the darkroom. And like I say, if any of this video you can take some bits away from it and go forward with your printing, great. Yeah, then the video's served its purpose. So thanks very much for watching, everybody, and I'll catch you next time.